In this lesson, we'll examine the journey of aging and consider these questions. What does aging mean? When does aging begin? And when is someone old? What you will quickly realize is that there are no concrete answers to any of these questions. The journey of aging is different for each of us. And that is really the takeaway from this lesson. That is to simply label someone as old based only on a number, whether applied to your parents or to someone else, boxes that person into a preconceived notion of what old means. So the objective of this lesson is to expand your understanding of aging and what it means to be old. In this lesson, there are 3 learning objectives. 1, to understand the basic cognitive functions of the brain. 2, to identify different kinds of memory and how they are affected by aging. And 3, to know the difference between normal cognitive changes due to aging and those related to a disease process. Well, where does all this memory stuff take place in the brain? It turns out that it's a lot more complex than we can explore in this course, but oversimplifying. I'm sure you have read or heard about will disputes based on someone challenging whether the person writing the will had sufficient capacity to do so. Likewise, contracts may be rendered invalid or void if hindsight determines that one of the parties to the contract lacked the capacity to enter into the contract. In elder law, undue influence is the misuse of one's role and power to exploit the trust, dependence, and fear of another to deceptively gain control over that person's decision in a particular matter. Capacity and consent relate primarily to an individual's abilities to understand and process information in order to take action or to make decisions. Undue influence focuses more on the relationship between the individual and another person, coupled with that person's opportunity and power to manipulate the vulnerable person's thoughts and actions. This lesson focuses on how to work together as a family because caregiving is a family matter. Very few of us want to intrude in our parents' lives. It is only when we begin to notice certain things about mom and dad that we begin to consider stepping. We've seen issues over the care of parents, and especially their parents' money, tear families apart. The learning objectives of this lesson, then, are to 1, know how and when to begin a conversation with your parents. 2, have a plan for who does what when. 3, define how the family will work together to provide care and support. 4, adopt a family code for it to work smoothly. But too often, caregiving gives rise to family conflicts. Psychologists and family therapists have written extensively on this topic, and David has included some of these studies in the lesson materials. For purposes of this lesson, disagreements arise due to 4 root causes. 1, roles and rivalries dating back to childhood. Mature adults often find that they're back in the sandbox when their family gets. However, if you are going to become involved in your parents' financial affairs, you will need to know what they own, what they are owed, and what they owe others. If your parents are still mentally sharp and managing their affairs, then this exercise may simply be a matter of sitting down with them for a couple of hours. You can use the organizer included in the course materials section to gather this information, or you can use a number of online platforms, the links to which are included in the lesson materials. If you have become involved because your parents are not as mentally sharp, have dementia, or other cognitive impairment, the task will be a bit more challenging depending on how organized your parents have kept their business. Let's turn our attention to a unique class of property interest known as beneficiary property. Most beneficiary property is owned by a single individual rather than one of the other multi-owner forms of ownership. IRAs are also passed at death to a beneficiary named in the IRA agreement when the account was opened with an IRA custodian. The financial institution that holds the assets of an IRA